Most people believe, Jeanne, that hypnosis is mind control. And well, and I get that too, because I had some fears about hypnosis until I experienced it. But we really aren't helped by hypnosis stage shows, mentalist. I mean, it looks like people are being made to do things they don't want to do, or they're being manipulated or controlled. What would you respond? What would you say to that person? Because it truly is preventing people from utilizing this life-changing tool that is so potent for
Absolutely.
transformation.
So the first thing I would say is that there's a definition of hypnosis, is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So it's something that we are doing to ourselves. The hypnotherapist, the hypnotist is simply facilitating a move from you from a normal I'm not even going to say normal, because trance is a normal state. It's a state that we spend a good deal of our time in, but they're simply taking us from a thinking, brain forward state, if you will, into this trance state where we're more open to suggestion. But when we're there, we always have the control over what our mind will take in. So that if you give a suggestion that is outside the realm of what a person wants or believes possible, they're going to reject it and they're going to snap out of it instantaneously. And I've seen this happen in my practice. I'm sure you have it in
Oh yeah,
yours, where
can you give an example of that?
so I was working with a young woman who was in grief over a close friend's death, and I gave an inappropriately framed suggestion that she let this grief go, and she wasn't ready. And all of a sudden, I was sitting there with her in a non-trance state. I'm like, okay, that's not something she's ready to let go of. In this case, there was nothing awful about the suggestion. I was simply asking her unconscious mind to relax a little bit and not make it the first thing she thought of when she woke up, the last thing before sleep, that kind of thing. And she wasn't ready for that. So she stopped instantaneously.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I think of a client who I was just bringing people into induction into the hypnotic state. And so I had volunteers. And so I just gave very neutral, hopefully pleasant suggestions like, you're lovable. And she would instantly come out of the trance. And then I'd bring her back into the state. And then I would a little suggestion like, oh, you're lovable. And again, her eyes would pop open so that we have our beliefs. Our subconscious mind
Yeah,
houses our beliefs. And if it is not in alignment with our desires or
absolutely.
wants or our beliefs,
What we
then the
can
change
believe about
isn't going to
ourselves.
happen.
Exactly.
What?
We if it is not in alignment with our beliefs about ourselves. So in that case, here was a woman who could not believe that she was lovable. So there was a whole set of pre-work that would have had to been done to,
Right.
to dispel that limiting belief. Now, it could have been done with hypnosis. It could have been done with, I would have pulled into that timeline therapy from NLP, because it's just faster and you don't have to go as deep in trance and things like that. But again, it's what she could believe and act upon herself. And
Okay.
with
So to be the devil's advocate, um, then why are people doing crazy things on stages?
So let me
How
tell you
can
about
hypnotists be able to make them do just crazy stuff?
so let me tell you about the first stage show I ever saw. It was in my city. I was here as a visitor and was in New Orleans at a convention. And they brought in a hypnotist for the afternoon entertainment on our like next to last day or something like that. And they brought down, I had come knowing no one and fallen in with this group of very fun people who was led by one of the head people, one of the vice presidents of the company offering the convention, software convention. And we had spent the night before trolling up and down Bourbon Street, and he was just the life of Bourbon Street, right? I left probably about 2:00 in the morning because I knew I needed to be in classes the next day. So I left early, and I saw him at breakfast the next morning, and he went straight from wherever he was partying on Bourbon Street to his hotel room, fast shower, and to breakfast. So we get to the hypnotist show, and everybody's pushing Bill to go up on stage. You got to do this, Bill. Go on, Bill. Go on, Bill. And Bill's like, yeah. He was the epitome of an extrovert, fun guy. It was fun for him. So when he got up on the stage and started doing all of these outrageous things, they weren't out of character at all. They were just Bill being Bill over the top. And being hypnotized allowed him to say, not my fault. He made me do it. Bill would have done that with any excuse to avoid the president of the company, who was also there, getting down on him for it. So
it gave him permission to do what he wanted to do already. And I love that point. I think of this one friend's son who was introverted, and he volunteered to be a guinea pig in one of the hypnosis stage performances and did things that were uncharacteristic, but he had a desire within him, a conscious desire. I want to, allow myself to get out there, to be more spontaneous and free. And he was part of a theater family who had demonstrated doing that. So he'd had lots of examples. So it was very much outside who he was, but he'd seen examples of it, and he had that desire within. Because who doesn't know that you're going to be made a fool of if you're asked to go up for...
Yeah, you know it. And if you ever watch those shows, there's almost always somebody who gets up there who's a little uncomfortable. And they'll either pop out of hypnosis, they'll either pop out of the trance, or they'll just sort of collapse into themselves. You can almost see it. You can almost see them just shrinking back. This isn't something they're comfortable with. And if the hypnotist is good, they're going to very gently take that person, allow them to do something that they're comfortable with, get up and walk across the stage, and then they'll hand them off to whoever's manning the steps, and they'll go back to their seat.
Yeah, I've seen that where they gently, the ones that are not open and receptive, I mean, they're weeding people out from the beginning, even when they start to do the exercises, and the audience who is really open for this playfulness and fun, who's going to be that cooperative subject, and the hypnotists are looking for that. So I love that. But again, to play the devil's advocate, what about these mentalists and mind shows? Kind of a sense of they're being manipulated to pick or say the right thing. How would you address that?
Those are people who are really, really good at reading other people. If you watch how their questions, people who do these instant channels again with departed people,
Okay,
they're
so you're kind of going a little bit in a different
yeah.
direction. What I've like Darren Brown, mentalist,
Okay.
he's a hypnotist, where he says I'm not channeling anything, but he's doing things like uh like you were saying, good at reading people, but also kind of flashing subliminal messages. So for instance, the color red, or they're coming into the performance and
Okay.
there's a
Yeah.
picture of a hot air balloon, and they choose hot air balloons, and like you say, he kind of, so that could seem like, again, manipulation, but from what I've and you might have read this too, like for subliminal messages, again, you unless you have the desire, just like going back to what we were talking about before, unless you have the desire to have that change, like they flash a picture of Coke in the movie theater, you
Yeah.
have to be thirsty. You
You
might
have to
pick
be thirsty.
Coke, but you might pick the Coke in that instant, but then it goes away.
Yeah.
um
And subliminals only, from what I understand of them, they last a very short amount of time.
right,
Uh,
so again, and we go back to our hypnosis, that for some people it has been as easy as I do one session and they're free of
abs-
cigarettes. But for other people it can be a much more lengthier process because, like what you said earlier, they have certain
they're not,
beliefs that are not in alignment with,
or they have needs that are being met by cigarettes. So, for example, I was
yeah,
working a couple of weeks ago with a young man who he was a trainer. He would go into corporate settings and train on software. And what would happen was he would finish a session or a piece of it, and he'd be mobbed by the people he was training with. And so he was trying to unwind and walk away from it for a few minutes, but he had all these people questioning him. So for him, cigarettes were the way to get away from those people, because only one or two of them would follow him to a smoking location. So his need was for this to be a break. And so quitting smoking didn't give him the break he needed. So he wasn't ready to give up smoking.
yeah, and I love that too. That's an example of, you have to get to that place of, we all have free will, that the conscious state is good about goals and dreams and visions. Um, but unless we have that, if we're not on board with it, then we can say you're a non-smoker, or you're gonna lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, and it can
You're
just
going to
happen
stick with
if,
your diet.
yeah, but
It,
like you say, we've got to address those beliefs, those patterns of thought and habit. What it's like, we
what
can
the
only
needs are.
work with the programming within. So if we have a belief that that's the only way I can get peace and a break and quiet, then we have to make sure that they have a way to
They're meeting that need elsewhere.
yeah, that they
And
get
it
what
will
they
and they won't give up the smoking until they can
right.
get that need met, or they
Yeah, so that they can have that peace, relaxation. I've seen people
yeah,
that as kind of a smoke screen on their relationship, to kind of, I don't have to think about that, or a way
yeah,
to kind of back away from different things that are
exactly.
stressful. Well, could you maybe do a little demonstration
Sure.
of how truly we are the hypnotists, that the power is within, that it's much harder than we thought to be manipulated and controlled. Um,
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to play and play full out. And
okay.
if you are very susceptible to hypnotic suggestions,
Okay.
um, and you're not named Sharon Svenson, and you're watching this, be really careful. Just turn the volume way down. Don't put it in headphones. Just listen outside of that, or just watch. just because I don't want you going into a trance that I'm not aware of because I'm not seeing you. Okay. So, Sharon, I want you to do exactly as I ask you
Okay.
when I ask you to do it. So take a long, deep breath and let it out. As you will exhale, allow your eyes to just close and let go of the surface tension in your body. Just let your body relax as much as possible right now. Now place your awareness on your eye muscles and relax the muscles around your eyes to the point they just won't. When you're sure they're so relaxed that as long as you hold on to this relaxation, they just won't work. Hold on to that relaxation and test them to make sure they won't work. Good. Relax your eyes and let this relaxation flow throughout your whole body. Now, when I ask you to, I'm going to ask you to open and close your eyes. And when I do, you will go twice as deep, as deeply relaxed as you are right now. Open your eyes, and close your eyes. Twice as relaxed. We're going to do that one more time. Open your eyes and close your eyes. Twice as relaxed. And when I ask you, I'm going to ask you to relax as much mentally as you are currently relaxed physically. You're going to count out loud from 100 backwards. And with each number, the numbers are going to disappear more and more. So that by the time we reach 98, they just won't be. Beginning at 100, say the number 100.
100,
Deeper relax.
99,
And watch the numbers just fade away. They're not even. And the next number is
98,
let them go. I can't do it for you. You have to will them away, push them away. Are they all gone?
Yeah, I think I could bring them back, but
Okay.
I'm making that decision to just let
You
it
make
go.
that decision to let them go. So now you are in a reasonably deep trance. I'm not going to take you too deep because of what we're doing here today. And I want you to stand up, walk into the corner and stand on your head. And that's demoing.
That doesn't sound like
Sharon?
a good idea.
No, it doesn't. So I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1 to 0. And at 0, you're going to open your eyes, be back fully present in the room. 3, coming back. 2, a little more awake. 1, almost awake. 0, fully awake, fully aware. Open your eyes. See, I can't make you do something that doesn't sound like a good idea. Now,
Right.
had I said go rob a bank or go slap your husband in the face, Sharon's reaction would have been even more pronounced as that's no.
Yeah, and I love that example I read one time about a stage hypnotist who would ask them to take off their clothes, and they wouldn't do that because that was not appropriate for the situation, just to kind of show that people, yeah, you're not going to violate your ethics or
Yeah,
your moral
exactly.
values or what you think
Exactly.
is dangerous for you.
In this case, I
Yeah.
asked her to do
Yeah.
something that was probably not a really good idea. I have seen people stand up and not be able to really maneuver. I'm sure you have as well as
Yeah.
when you ask them to stand up. I don't like asking people to stand up over Zoom because there's nobody in the room to make sure that their safety is
Well, and the
paramount.
number one uh, job of the subconscious mind is how I was trained is safety, to keep
Absolutely.
you safe and secure. So if you don't think a suggestion is going to keep you safe, then it will reject it.
Absolutely. And in this case, standing on your head while in a trance under someone else's direction was obviously not a safe ask.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Coming up, Jeanne and I are part of a virtual summit April 23rd and 24th for women. It's a free virtual summit for wellness, health, what was it? Wellness, abundance, and impact. So check out the description. You can go to we've got a little bio down below about Jeanne, and you can visit her website and see what she has to offer and check out our virtual summit if you're a woman. Thank you very much, Jeanne.
Thanks for having me, Sharon. This has been fun.
Uh, Blessings and love, everybody.
Thank you. Hope to see you at the summit.